Hi, I'm Ryan with Best Delegate. I'm here with Kelsey King, the Secretary General of the Washington Area Model United Nations Conference at George Washington University. Kelsey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, we're really happy to have you here the weekend. It's been great.
I really appreciate you having me visit and giving me the chance to speak at opening and to speak with the advisors. It's been really an amazing experience.
Well, as helpful as it is for you, it's really what the advisors want to hear. You're the one who has the resources that they need, and I mean, to be perfectly honest, you've grown up and you did Model UN, so you're what the kids want to hear about too. I mean, they're all excited for Model UN and they want to know more about it. So.
Yes, and I mean, they come to a conference like this because they're motivated, right? And
Absolutely.
They're actually motivated to learn and have fun.
Absolutely.
But tell me a little bit more about your Model UN background. You actually did Model UN in Colorado. What got you into it, and how long have you been doing it?
I started doing Model UN my freshman year of high school. I was in the first class of an all-girls high school that had been started, so we had a brother school that had a Model UN program for a while. And so we had a teacher who had been helping out with that come over to the girls' school, and so she started it as a Model UN class. And I just happened to sign up for the class on a whim. Didn't really think about it, didn't have any idea what it was at all. Signed up for the class, realized it was mostly about public speaking, and was terrified. Absolutely terrified.
Yep. Yep.
But I started taking the class in October. My high school put on a conference, and I didn't staff that year. I competed at it because we had a really large Model UN program. So that's how I got into Model UN. Started competing, won an award at that conference, and
Cool.
got taken to Naaman that year with my high school.
Nice.
I was one of 3 freshmen that year, I believe, who got to go to Naaman. So it was
nice.
At my school. It was a pretty big deal, and
you were a pretty big deal.
in the Model UN way, yes. So that's how I got into it, and then I stuck with it throughout high school. Served as Secretary General my senior year. So at my high school, being Secretary General meant you ran the whole club, essentially. In addition to that, myself and the Secretary General of the boys' school, we worked together to put together our school's conference that year. So that was the first conference I guess I was technically Secretary General of, or Co-Secretary General.
Wait, was it the boys and the girls' school co-hosted conference, so they came together?
We were a boys' school and a girls' school, and we shared a campus, but our buildings were separate by about 500 feet.
Wow.
So it was an interesting experience. And so we competed with them. We were one Model UN team, but never saw each other. So it was an interesting dynamic.
Okay. Except when you went to conferences,
except for
right?
conferences and clubs, and
that's why people did Model UN.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
That's why the boys' school. That's why they started they started the Model UN program specifically to go to Model UN conferences to meet girls.
Again, Model UN is a motivational experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then once the girls' school started, more girls and boys joined. Well, we'll get to hang out with the boys' school, or we'll get to hang out with the girls' school.
Wow. Okay. That was a lot of fun.
So that was interesting in high school, and then when I got to GW, I started doing Model UN right away. I joined the International Affairs Society in their first meeting of the year. Went to NITSIC my freshman year. But actually went to a bunch of conferences my freshman year.
You ever go to Sexy?
I did. I went
conference?
to.
I'm just saying.
My freshman year, I went to NITSIC, Sexy, McMahon, and Chomun.
Nice.
And then since then, I started working more on the secretariat side of things. So sophomore year, I only went to McMahon, but that year I served as chief of staff for our middle school Model UN conference.
Very cool.
It's a one-day conference called GWCAA, Greater Washington Area Conference on International Affairs.
That's a mouthful.
It is, but it draws a lot of local kids, and I actually didn't know that middle schools had Model UN until I got to GW. I had no idea.
Are you aware that there are some middle school students here at your conference?
I found that out. Yeah, I wasn't aware until a couple days ago.
They're very impressive.
They're incredibly impressive. I think they're all from League of Creative Minds.
Yeah.
They're extremely impressive.
They're very mature.
They are.
For their age, and they're hanging in there with students who are much older.
They are, and they're doing an amazing job. I think one girl specifically in LAS is 12, and she is from what I've heard from the chair, she's absolutely phenomenal.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. And so, I mean, so you've been doing Model UN, it sounds like, for all seven years now,
Yeah,
all the way through.
yeah.
And now you're Secretary General of
Yes.
this conference. And can you tell us what's the best part of being Secretary General?
It's a tough question because when you're putting together the conference, it's so much work for those
Mhm.
11 months. But
Mhm.
during the conference, just to go around to the committees and see everything running smoothly, see the students having a great time, really engaged in debate. It's just amazing to know that like you were one of those kids like 4 years ago, and now
Yep.
to see these kids so excited and enjoying themselves and having a great time and learning too, but it's more about the fun. You see everyone having a great time, and you don't think about the international affairs aspect of it at the time.
I mean, they're having fun, but they're learning in the process.
Exactly.
They just happen to learn.
They just happen to learn. It's all about fun, and then they happen to learn at the same time too.
And I mean, the thing about learning at this conference is, since you're based in Washington D.C., it seems like a great environment for students, high school, college, middle school,
Absolutely.
who are interested in politics and international affairs in particular. Could you tell us about I know you had some excursions going on Friday
Yeah,
morning. I know
absolutely.
you brought in speakers. This conference really seems to make the most of the opportunities that DC offers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're incredibly fortunate to us at GW are incredibly fortunate to be in Washington and have all kinds of resources at our disposal, such as the Elliott School of International Affairs at GW,
Mhm.
which helps provide speakers for us.
Mhm.
To have all the embassies in DC the staff are incredibly amazing and let us organize trips, bring students.
Yeah.
We had, we had the LAS go visit the embassy of the UAE.
Right, the Arab League, right?
Yeah, the Arab League
yeah.
went. They had an amazing time.
Yeah.
The embassy staff gave them a briefing, baseball hats, and tea and cookies, and and they had an amazing time. They were so excited to meet embassy officials. The EU went to visit the EU Commission.
They actually went to see.
They had a briefing at the EU Commission.
That's pretty cool.
It was fantastic.
I heard OAS went to OAS.
Yeah, the OAS went to visit the actual OAS, had a briefing. We're really fortunate. One of our staff members has done some work with the OAS in the past and was
Mhm.
able to secure a tour there and had an amazing visit.
And that's the other thing about your staff too, because it seems that GW students are very involved, not just in their classes and
Oh, definitely.
their clubs like Model UN, but they actually have work experience. Like they're working for government agencies. It seems like.
Including myself, actually.
Well, what do you do?
I work at the Department of Commerce in the International Trade Administration. We have members of our staff work for the UN, State Department, Institute for Middle East Studies, Brookings. We've had people who worked at Carnegie in the past. So
Mhm.
because of that, we're able to organize amazing tours, take students on great briefings, have fantastic guest speakers come in. I know for the Iranian JCC,
Mhm.
they secured John Limburg, who was
Right,
one of the
right.
Iranian hostages. So an incredible,
Wow.
incredible experience to take the international affairs and what you're doing in committee, which is fun and competitive and kind of like your sport, and then
Right.
see how it really translates into the real world, and that
Mhm.
this isn't just things you learn over a conference over 3 days. It's not just because you prepare for it for 2 months and you have your binder of research.
Right.
It actually really does translate in the real world too. And I
Huh.
think that's kind of one of the best things that we're able to do at WAMUNC is put the real world perspective into the Model UN too, because we have these resources, we're so lucky.
This is very cool. It's cool that the students get to go out into the city and see international affairs in action, and then they see it in their chairs too. And
Exactly.
bring that experience back into the committee.
Exactly. It's absolutely fantastic, and we're very fortunate.
It's very cool. And so again, you've been doing Model UN for a long time now. You've risen through the
Yeah.
ranks. You've experienced as delegate and secretary general, and you provide this great educational opportunity for students through this conference. Can you tell us, after all this Model UN experience, what does Model UN mean to you?
Model UN is the reason I study what I study. Model UN is the reason that I came to GW. It's the reason I study international affairs. When I was looking at colleges, actually, it's the reason I ended up in DC in the first place. After going to Naaman my freshman year, I was so excited. I'd never been to DC before. I was so excited. I thought it was a great city, and I started talking to my parents, what am I going to do about college? And well, they were like, well, you really like the small UN stuff. I was like, how do I study this? How do I go to school for this? And well, it turns out you can't actually go to school for Model UN, but you can do international affairs. And so I started looking at, my Model UN advisor in high school helped me by saying, like, look at these schools, like GW, Georgetown, all these all the schools in DC that have international affairs. Go somewhere that has a Model UN team. You'll make friends easier that way. You'll find a social network. You'll be able to keep doing what you love, which is Model UN. And so that's why it's been my home for the past 8 years in a lot of ways.
Wow.
The majority of my friends here on campus I met because of Model UN and the International Affairs Society at GW. So it's really been like my home on campus. And
that's cool.
So
wow.
I'm graduating in May, and it's a little bit sad, but
oh, no.
at the same time, it's been amazing.
It's very cool. Wow. Do you know what you're doing after graduation, by the way?
That is a great question.
Okay. Okay. Right.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
So
right.
something will work out.
Okay. And I know that your mom has been
my
following.
mom has been so incredibly excited. Your number one fan is my
God.
mother, because she couldn't come from Colorado to go see the conference. Obviously, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to see her anyways, but she's been following the website. Every update, she's been so excited.
Wow.
So,
do you want to have a shout out to your mom?
Hi, Mom, and thank you for lunch.
Yes, thank you for providing lunch for the secretariat.
We were incredibly thankful for that.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me visit.
Absolutely.
Congratulations
Thank you
on
so
a wonderful
much.
Conference.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. We've worked so hard for it. So
It really shows.
my whole secretariat and I have put in so many hours, and we're happy. We think it's been going well.
You guys should be proud of yourself.
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.